everywhere. All right, Danielle, thank you for joining me on Not Nosy, Just Curious podcast. This was a daunting task, but we managed.
We did. We
And
did.
we've been talking about doing this for a while, and here we are
We
doing it.
have. I
So,
know. I'm so proud of us.
yeah, so introduce yourself and tell us about this business you're in.
Okay, well, my name is Danielle Peterson, and I have been in like the collectibles industry for professionally a little over a decade, but like as part of just like being involved in it probably my whole entire life. Like my dad growing up, we had a store called Peterson Jewelers in the Collector Zone, and I worked there. And also we would do comic shows because my dad loved comics. And so that kind, I've just been involved in the industry in some way, even if it's just showing up to collect freebie items at the San Diego Comic Con. I was there. I would we would also get like exclusives from there when I was a kid, and then like bring them home and like resell them at the store and stuff as well. So I've been like just involved in collectibles my whole entire life, but professionally for about a little over 10 years.
So, Danielle, how do you protect yourself? Where do you get your knowledge from? How do you protect yourself from people who think you might not know what you're doing?
Well, I have just like a vast network of people as well as a lot of different sources. So like it depends on like also like what kind of collectible. So like for the most part, I deal with like comics and I'm not well versed in sports cards, but we had sports cards at the store growing up, and I definitely have some that I will be trying to liquidate at some point. But like also there was other stuff like with my dad being a jeweler, I he would take in a lot of antiques from people, and so like I have now like this vast knowledge about pocket watches, which is really bizarre and obscure. Um, but so like just like internet sources, like there's like this place called Pocket Watch Database. For comics, like it depends if comics are graded. Like there's always been the Overstreet comic book price guide. Like this has been out for I think like we're in 54 or 55th edition of it now. So it's been helping collectors for a really long time. And on top of that, like that would tell you like depending on the condition of your comic, like what it kind of is going for in the market. And this is more of like a yearly guide that comes out, whereas like there's also like monthly updates or there's other sources that can kind of give you information as well. So like some comics people grade them and they then like get a grading on a scale of 1 to 10, like 10 being mint condition, like nothing wrong with it, like that it's pristine, or you can just like not grade them as well, but like some people like that. And so like there's some sources like CGC, which is the company that grades the comics. They have like a census that will tell you how many of each grade and each comic there is. And then there's also another company called GPA Analysis that will tell you every single recorded sale of like that comic and what it sold for and the last time it sold and like what is also available of that comic right now. And so like you can also kind of like look at your comic and decide to what kind of condition it is in based on like the scale of 1 to 10 guide, with again 10 being mint. So there's just like that. I speak to a lot of dealers. I took over my dad's ownership in like his local comic book show that he like owned with a few buddies. So with that being said, like I get a lot of information from like them, and one of our dealers that sets up is his name is Dave Akins, and he actually draws SpongeBob. Like he's the illustrator for SpongeBob and like does
Oh,
Dora the Explorer books and stuff. He's very knowledgeable. I had gotten a ton of art from like my dad after he passed. And so in order to like figure that all out, like I just didn't really have like a lot of art knowledge, and there's so much out there that is odd. Like things vary and very
do you,
I
Danielle? Do you get very possessive of things? I mean, do you
I
feel
used to not get possessive, but now since like my dad has passed, I definitely have gotten possessive. Like I remember like one of the biggest lessons my dad and like other like Bill has taught me is that like you don't want to get like personally attached to something as in like if you're trying to sell it because like maybe like this comic is worth $1,000 and if I want to wholesale it I should probably sell it anywhere between $600 and $800 but like if I want to like hold on to it, then I might be asking for a higher number because I'm like personally attached to this, or like there's like some art that I just like won't let go of. But like when I get emotionally involved, it's harder for me to like let things go for like appropriate prices.
so? For clarity, what does it mean when you say you wholesale it? You sell to vendors and then they sell it?
Yeah. So one of my dad's buddies who I do the comic book show with is his name is Bill Fade and he's fantastic. I love him and Cheryl. They're great. But I just was so overwhelmed with the amount of comics that I had to like learn about and get rid of per se or like sell with so many of them being like repeats or just like all mishmashed together like it was just very overwhelming so I ended up like putting together like some big like lots of like 40 long boxes of comics or like a lot of like the higher grade books that or the older books that Bill could sell like at a higher like the more valuable ones the ones that get like a lot more traction like those like I kind of just like didn't want to deal with after a certain point because shows are a lot and like when we would do shows Anthony would sometimes help me and like men would just be like so bud what's like the price and he's like actually no like this isn't my booth like I'm just here to like make sure no one steals anything
Mhm.
and so
That's funny.
yeah so it's like
They had to
fun
deflect like that, yeah, because it's a man's world, basically, right? What do you know?
yeah it really is and like having like I've also been doing eBay with collectibles for like the last decade. So like I've really been in the back end. Like people haven't seen me out front. Like people saw my dad. Like my dad was at all the shows and he was really amongst the people of the industry and like me, I've really just like kind of been in the shadows like per se, like as in like selling online and not really going to all the shows. Like I knew a lot of people in the industry that like vendors and others and collectors. But I just wasn't spending a lot of time at the shows. And then when my dad got sick, and then when he passed, he had already like paid for a couple shows already, like big ones, like the one out in Baltimore, and I did one in Dayton. And so I kind of just like took over that and went, and it's a really great time. But like as someone who maybe is not like as passionate about comics as everybody else, like yes, I have like this deep knowledge. Other people have deeper knowledge, but like I can hang with the best of them, but it's not like my first passion. And so like to really not feel exhausted and like beat down by the end of it of like people
Right,
like looking for a deal or like what can
exactly.
you do for me um I just kind of was ready to kind of move on from that. That's not to say I'm still for sale and stuff to like go through, but recently I've been doing a lot of stuff with like these old novels and like pulps from like Tarzan and Conan and like books from like the early 1900s right now and stuff like that too. So
Do you
bizarre.
ever do you ever feel bullied, Danielle? Like, do these people ever come up and like, what do you know? And do they try to intimidate you and bully you? I mean, like you said, you feel exhausted sometimes afterwards for all the wheeling and dealing everybody wants to do. Do they think you lack knowledge?
Yeah, I think that like some people definitely think that I do. I feel like they think like, my dad kind of I deal with like a lot of imposter syndrome because my dad definitely did help me get into the business. He wanted me to be able to help him out when I started my eBay business. Like that was like the plan was that he had all this stuff that he was buying at the store and there wasn't really a spot for it. And so like we just kind of like came together and decided to like do like the eBay side of it as well. And so like I took over that, and so I've gained so much knowledge through that, but like people again didn't see me out there, and so I think they thought
Right.
that after my dad passed that like, oh, like she's kind of just picking up the slack, but like no, like I'm well versed myself, but it is intimidating. Like, I'm on the smaller side, and I have some people that I've dealt with that like, they're not like physically intimidating, but they're taller. They're looking down at me, and like as someone who maybe isn't always the most confident in certain situations, like it makes me doubt myself as well.
Yeah.
And so like as much as like I feel like I'm up against like some people in the industry or just like, like not like really, I wouldn't call it bullying. Like I've never been bullied at the shows, but I mean I definitely get like people that are like, oh, that's an astronomical price, or like people like on eBay like will send me messages like, haha, like that's absurd, like okay, cool, like block, like I ain't got time to deal with this, like okay,
Okay,
like
fair.
that's not fucking helpful. Oh, sorry.
Right.
But for the most part, like everybody has been like really supportive, but I do feel like, everybody does want a better price. But I mean, if I was out there probably buying from somebody, I might want a better price too, like I think wheeling and dealing and like haggling a little bit comes with the territory of like selling collectibles like at in like an online or like a show environment. Like it's different like if you have a brick and mortar store, that seems like, that prices might be a little more non-negotiable there, or you might do some trades. But for the most part, like it just is, just people sometimes just think they know it all regardless of their sex.
Does it get exhausting for you, the negotiating and the finagling? I mean, you don't. I mean, it's just it must get exhausting.
Yeah, a little bit. Like I get tired. Like sometimes I'm just like, like I feel like a lot of men like set their price and they're like, this is that. And then like I've set my price and they're like, oh, well, can't you go lower? And it's like, I feel like they think because, well,
Yeah.
maybe not, but like it sometimes feels like that because maybe they think I'm not as knowledgeable, or like, I'm my father's daughter, that like I don't have the stuff, but to make the right price. But like I do, like I've been taught like for for 32 years, I watched my dad buy and sell at the store and at comic shows. And anytime I had a question, I gave him a call, and, he gave me so much information that, like, it's,
So he was your
and
biggest influence.
yeah, definitely my biggest influence. And then, especially, like, like, even if I could look up answers and stuff myself, like, when he was sick, like, I definitely, like, would call him with maybe not so much real questions just to get some more information, or like see how he's doing. It's just our way to like connect, like
Yeah. Do
I
you
mean,
feel? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, go for it.
Do you feel confident like your dad had that knowledge that just poured out of him? Do you feel you're getting to that level where the knowledge just pours out of you? That you know certain things and you know what you know, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, like I definitely feel that way about certain subjects. Like I remember I did like a ton of research on these Tarzan books, and they're by this guy named Edgar Rice Burroughs. And I did so much research at one point that like I was having dreams about like doing the research, and so it was like very exhaustive. But like stuff like that, like I feel like I have all this knowledge, and I'm I'm happy to admit when I don't have it, but I'm also happy to pretend that I do have it as well if I'm in the middle of wheeling and dealing. Like there are just like so many like tiny tricks to like make something seem more enticing or more important than it may be, but that doesn't mean that it's not important to the people that are buying it. But like, like some things are just in the collectible world less important than other things, but to other people they might be more important. But it's a delicate line of
Is
yes
the
and
reason
no.
Is the research, Danielle, exhilarating? The learning and finding out some of these facts that could be so interesting? Is that the research kind of fun?
Yeah, I've always been like a person that likes to do research or like learn things. And so, yeah, the research is lots of fun. And also with like collectibles, obviously, like a lot of them are antiques or like, we're dealing with like I've dealt with jewelry from the late 1800s, pocket watches from the early 1900s. It's just crazy to think about like how well something has been preserved or like how it has now become into my hands. I remember one time my dad had gotten a watch in the store. I believe it was a gold pocket watch, and the guy selling it to my dad had said that his grandpa had won it in a poker game, like out west back in the day. Like
Mhm.
I can only like imagine, like that's so insane. Like I watch like the Gilded Age and like some of these like shows that are
Yeah,
historical based,
period
and
pieces. Yeah.
I deal with some of that stuff. Like, in fact, like I just found some journals from this woman in the 1930s and 1940s, and she like took a boat over to Europe and was taking a train through the countryside and all these like different countries, and like she wrote down what she ate and how much she paid for it. Like that's insane. Like
That's
I
crazy.
mean, this is stuff like you read about or hear about or you see a little bit on like a documentary on television, and like I have
Mhm.
it in my hands. Like that's
Yeah,
crazy to
yeah.
me.
Now, is there a certain classification that has to be met before you can call something antique?
I believe antique is 100 years old.
Is that what it is? So it
I
has to be kind of,
believe so.
so in order to say this is antique, it has
I
to meet
believe it's a
some sort of
hundred.
guide. Okay, all right.
And I believe that vintage, I believe is 25 years, like to be
Okay.
considered
So there's those
vintage.
classifications then.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then like with some comics there's like like there's ages, so like for certain years, like right now from 1992 on is considered the modern age of comics, and like there's the bronze age and silver age. Like golden age is like 1938 to 1955 per se. And there's a lot of these golden age horror comic books, and like that was before the Comic Code of Authority came involved and stuff, which was like passed by Congress because they were so worried about these horror comics and how disturbing they could be. Like one had like a Lizzie Borden story, like there's like all sorts of like beheadings and like crazy there's a drug story, an opium story. There were many things like they were the Tales of the Crypt. Like they had like the TV show was based on these comics from the 1930s and 40s of the golden age era, and before that there's like the platinum era. And I mean, I think even in my basement I have like some old western like nickel and dime comics that are like about like that are like these old. It's just so fascinating. I
It
Comics have
sounds so,
evolved.
yeah. Now, is there such a thing today as a comic book? I mean, are there the Brenda Stars? And I mean, I used to read just the comics and there was that
Yeah,
ongoing story. I mean, are there comic books today that you
yeah.
can
I'm
read?
There are people that like, I mean, there's a lot of different comic books out today as well. Like yes, like Superman is still continuing on his story. Spider-Man is still continuing on his story. I don't know how many times they've all died and come back, but I mean, and like some of these characters too, they come back as like, or like a new person takes over. So like everybody has like a regular identity, and then they also have their superhero identity. And so like Hal Jordan is the Green Lantern, but there's also like I think Guy Gardner is also Green Lantern. So like there's many people that have played they're like
Okay.
in these books, like in that become these superheroes. But yeah, like there's also like The Walking Dead was a comic, and that was like a newer comic, and that came out and they made a TV show about it. Like but that was originally a comic. Like there are comics that are about like westerns, or like even like more like dark Americana stuff. Like even there's comics that are only one issue or special. There's different covers, like they're called variants. There's different covers for a certain comic. And back in the day, before like they started doing different covers of art, there was always either a newsstand print, which included a barcode on the front of it, or there was like just like a direct edition, and that where the barcode would be like, say for Spider-Man, they would just be like Spider-Man's head or like a spider or whatever instead of a barcode. So there's different like variants as well. It
Is
gets
one more valuable
confusing.
than the other? Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Yeah, it depends like what is hopping in the industry, but like for a minute there, like when I was a kid, I didn't really hear about newsstand variants. I wasn't really like, again, like really paying attention, but like where the eBay business, like my dad would be like, this one's a newsstand. And so like, like a lot of people might only collect newsstand editions. I had somebody that came and was looking at my comics, and back in the day they would date stamp the comics, like to show like they received it, and like stamp it with a date. Or also they would spray them on the side, so like they have like color spray on the top in some areas. And like some people might only collect ones that have date stamps, or like or like I remember my dad would always be like, red dress, like men like would like to find like the comics that had women in red dresses on the covers, like it was more appealing. It Everybody has their own way to collect, like my collection may be very different than somebody else's collection, even though we are collecting the same thing.
You're so passionate about this, Danielle, and so knowledgeable. I mean, but I want to just pick your brain about something like you said about the Tales of the Crypt and how colorful those comics were, and maybe how a little too colorful. But today, all that colorfulness and all that rawness is very allowed.
Yeah, they have like markings for them now, like whereas like how uh games have like teen and mature, whereas before they didn't have that, like, but now like
So
they
that
have
was
like,
the difference then. That's where they,
yeah,
okay, all right,
like
all right.
that's been
So there
more of
was
like a
a
modern.
grading of some sort.
Yeah, like that's been more of like a modern comic thing. So like after the golden age, they took like these comics that were really horrific or graphic, or
Yeah,
full of Nazi stuff, and said like, hey, they took these to the Senate and Congress, and they used them, and they were like, this is not okay. And so they created the Comic Code of Authority. And so like it had to meet like be like PG, say like everything had to be PG then. And then now like in modern times, it's now changed to like where things will say like for mature readers or teen, or like some things have a little bit of a warning, but I don't think that people are like necessarily standing over the stand and being like, you can't buy that either,
right.
like whereas like when I was growing up, if a game was rated mature, like I couldn't just go up and buy it. Like my mom had to go to the store and buy the game that was rated mature. But like that, I don't think is really like happening with comics per se. I mean, obviously, like that happens with like porn, which is also like crazy collectible. Like some of the older like stuff is really insane, like insanely collectible. Like there's also like um porn comics that are like not like, I mean obviously they're drawn, and like those
Mhm.
like have some like really crazy collectors, as in like they go for a lot of money even if they're kind of in poor condition, and they're kind of hard to find. I mean, I have gotten a few stacks across my desk, and I just think they're funny, but like to some people that's their jam, man. And I don't
Do
I
you?
I can't yuck someone's yum.
Yeah, oh, that's good. I like that. Do you ever plan on liquidating the whole entire collection?
I mean, I think like at the end of the day, like really that's kind of the plan. I've never This isn't my first love. I have so much knowledge. I have so much respect
You
for
do. You
the
do.
community
It
and the
pours out of you.
industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the people in the community, 98% of them are amazing, supportive, very nice, fantastic. We get together, we do things, we celebrate each other. People really came around me like when my dad passed and stuff. And, I think that my comic book community like really helps me stay connected to my dad as well. But like, it's not like, again, my first passion. So like, yeah, I think the end of the day, like, my end goal is to move on from this industry, right? But I mean,
Mhm.
I'll always keep, as long as like the comic show is still going on, I'll always keep my ownership in that. I enjoy going to see everybody. We just have a ball. We do like a hourly raffle, and everybody, we it's like cheers. Everybody knows each other. I have like favorite regulars that come in, and like when you don't see them for a month, you're like, oh my god, I hope they're okay. Like, like I do really enjoy the community that I have, but with it just not being my first love, yeah, like my at the end of the day, I will be getting rid of the majority of the things. I've kept quite a bit more than I thought I would, and like maybe I'll let go of more later on, but um I've been like a book collector myself, and so like my dad had like some first edition Tarzan books and Conan books that like I'll keep,
Yeah.
and there's like some Disney stuff I'll keep, like I have this like map from, it's called Mickey and Donald's Race to Treasure Island, and it's from the gas companies back like in the 30s, and it has like all the pieces, and it's framed, and just like stuff like that like I just like really remember like being a part of my
Now,
childhood
do
and my
you
life.
do like major shows, like three big major shows, or where you have to fly there, or are these all local shows, or do you collaborate with somebody in a brick and mortar? I mean,
Yeah, well, I'm still selling like mostly on eBay. I do, like I said, like I have the local comic show, the Knights Hall Comic and Toy Show in Livonia. Our next show is July 26th. It's a Sunday, but so like I have that. We do that almost every month. I don't always set up there, and in fact, for the most part, I don't, because I enjoy working the front door and seeing everybody and getting involved and doing the raffle with Dave and Jesse, and Cheryl and I will sit there at the door, and Bill's around, and we just have a ball. But I did a couple of big shows a couple years ago, but I probably won't do any more big shows. If I do, it'll probably be like one and done, just to like once I get like a big set of like maybe the last hurrah of stuff together. I may go and do like a pulp show. So like pulps are different from comics. Like pulps have a different following. And in fact, this is a fun fact. Ron L. Howard from or Hubbard, sorry, Ron L. Hubbard from the Scientology
Scientology.
community.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was actually a pulp writer. He start like in one of like these like little. This is a oh, they're more like these size. Like, these little pulps that would come out with like science fiction stories. Like Dune was in a pulp magazine before it became like a book. So like he would write stories, and that's how like he started Scientology, was by like writing these stories um in these pulp magazines. And it's very like that was the more like science fiction and fantasy, like a lot of comics like are more superhero based, but it's a very strange world out there.
Are you a very voracious reader? Do you read?
I wish I read more than I do now. I did grow up reading a lot though. Like my parents both love to read, and my dad specifically did, obviously, with all of his like collections and stuff, but he wanted me to be a good reader, so he would pay me $5 a book when I was a kid for each book I read, and then he would quiz me afterwards. But I
Wow.
wanted
Okay.
all the money, so I would read all the books.
So, do you read for enjoyment, or do you read to learn?
It
Do you
depends.
read period pieces, or do you read just
I
whatever?
like I I am a nosy person, so I like to read to understand things, or like biographies. I really like enjoy. I also like really. like I loved the Harry Potter series and the series of unfortunate events as a kid. So like these like kind of like fantastical like series as well. I don't really feel like Harry Potter is science fiction. I consider it to be like
It's very
fantasy.
whimsical. Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
like
Yeah.
fantasy more like than
So you
science
read
fiction.
that whole collection.
Yeah, I read that when I was a kid, and I wish, honestly, I wish I read more now. I do a lot of like article reading, which is
Mhm.
not books. And I also, not really connected, but I started 890 days ago doing Italian lessons every day. So I spend
Good
about
for
30 minutes like
you.
working on Italian. So like maybe that's time I would spend like reading, but I wanted to
Oh, you're
learn
learning
something
something.
new.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I do that. But I try to stay involved. I don't really like read comic books, but some of these like Tarzan books and these older books that my dad had, I plan to read. And in fact, I got some of like these smaller little like children's novels, like about like some turtle and some rabbit, and like they are not like one sentencers, like they're like full page books, and they were my dad's, and I think I'm going to just like read them for fun. Like, I didn't hear those stories as a kid. I had more modern stories or Disney stories. I didn't have
Yeah.
necessarily the fox and the rabbit ones per se. So I'm gonna read them, I think. I mean, maybe I'll eventually sell them, but like I want to read them. I think that's fun. I've found like I have like a first edition Wizard of Oz book like that are like different than the movies. Like I really grew up
Well,
like
isn't
entrenched
that's
in
funny you mention that because Wizard of Oz and Snow White, they're a completely different story. The books are
yes,
different than
yeah.
what Disney made. They're almost scary, those books.
Yes,
You
yes,
know,
they were.
they're frightening. So yeah, it's something everybody should probably read, Danielle, because they're not what Disney is. Not the real Snow White.
No.
The Wizard of Oz is completely different than that
Yes.
movie. So yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. You know what I miss? I miss magazines. I
Oh
miss.
my God, we were a like, oh,
I
I grew
love
up so
magazines.
I love magazines. I
I
love a good
miss.
magazine.
I miss going to the doctor's office and looking through a magazine. I miss magazines.
Yeah, so we
Miss
would
them.
always have magazines. And I remember when we would take like our big family vacation every year, like we'd go and get like a big stack of
Yes,
magazines for the
yes.
flight.
And
Like,
that was fun.
yes, so
So
much
much
fun.
fun. Yes,
Catalogs, I miss catalogs. Like, I
yes.
still get a Lego catalog and I still circle things.
And do
And like,
you?
yes, until my dad passed, every year I got a really big Lego set. I was a big Lego lady, and I still buy myself big Lego sets. Like I just got some collectible Harry Potter ones I'm very excited about. I have like the Home Alone
Fun.
house and like a
So
bunch of Star Wars ones.
you try to stay learning things.
Yeah, I do. I play like some brain games every day a little
Yeah.
bit, like the New York Times, like Wordle, and like their other like word match one. I just like to like stay on the up and up. My family history of just like health in general is not super awesome. So like I try to make sure I'm like using my body and mind like as much as I can to like keep things going.
Well, that's good. Well, Danielle, I'm telling you, your enthusiasm is almost contagious. In
Oh, thanks.
closing, give us something really powerful here in closing.
Oh my goodness, give me something powerful. I'm
Power.
not
I
really.
want some power.
Oh, I'm not sure. All I know is that the excitement for the industry that I have, I inherited it from my dad. And he was always excited. And everybody everybody says he was just the best. He wanted me to do well. He wanted everybody to do well. He wasn't one to undercut someone else or say anything bad. And I think that like my dad just really taught me how to be like a really great person in the industry. Like, you gotta uplift everybody in general. There's so much hate in general too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
You know, it's not fun. The industry should be fun, and you want to keep people involved in it. Like at one point, people thought comics might be a dying industry, and like they've really had a resurgence. And like, you know, we need to get younger generations reading again. Like, come on, Pizza Hut, get that personal pan pizza out the door. We got to read more, you know?
Right, right.
And no matter how you read, as long as you're reading, like that's great.
So just be excited. I mean, you're very, like I said, your knowledge is contagious, and it is. You're exciting, and excited to talk about it. So thank you for doing this with me. Let's
Oh,
revisit
thanks for having
something.
me.
Did you do it again with me?
Heck yeah.
All right,
I
it's a
got so
date.
much to talk about. It's
I know it's
crazy.
a date. We're doing it again, okay?
I'm in. I'm
All
in.
right. Say goodbye.
Bye. Thanks, Yvonne. You have a great day.
You too, my friend.
Yes.